Hello everyone, my name is Dominique Marie Jean and this is Group C. Our teaching creative technique is free association. Members of Group C are Ning Xiaofeng, who is in charge of video editing and checking all tasks. Liu Jinyu is in charge of collecting and organizing all data. Zhang Wenqi, Su Hao, and me is in charge of presenting, and Liu Zihao is in charge of preparing PowerPoint presentation. For today's presentation, we'll be going through what is free association, experiment on free association, and the purpose of free association. So what is free association? The free association method is one of the main methods of psychoanalysis proposed by Freud in 1899. Its form can be divided into discontinuous free association and continuous free association. It can measure human abilities, emotions, and many more. And it is also a diagnostic technique and treatment used by psychoanalysts. The concept of free association. So, the overview of free association is when the experimenter presents a stimulus. It's usually a word or picture which is presented by auditory or visual means. And they ask the subject to say a word or fact that comes to their mind as soon as possible. The free association corresponds to control association. So in this application of free association, there is no restriction in the relationship between the subject's response and the stimulus beforehand, but the response is generally agreed only in verbal form. Specific methods of association. The specific practice of free associative is to let the visitor lie on a sofa bed in a relatively quiet, well-lit room to undertake association at will. The therapist usually sits behind the visitor and listens to him. But before that, they have to let the visitor dispel all worries and talk about whatever comes to their mind. And the therapist promises to keep the conversation confidential. Visitors are encouraged to speak from the original idea and don't be afraid of embarrassment or to modify it for fear that people will find it absurd or strange. Because most of the times, the most ridiculous or embarrassing things are likely to be the most meaningful and not the greatest therapeutic value. When free association is carried out, the visitor should be the main task, and the therapist should not interrupt his words at will. Of course, when necessary, the therapist can give appropriate guidance. Free association course. Generally, the course of treatment of free association is quite long, usually dozens of times, can last about a few months or more than half a year. And the problem cannot be solved by just a few sessions, just a few times, because there might be resistance, transference, or recurrence that can occur during the treatments. It is encouraged to treat the patients and encourage them to maintain confidence in order to achieve the goal of their recovery. My colleague Suhao will be explaining on the experiment on free association.
Hello everyone, I'm going to talk about the second part, experiments on free association. Here's the case 1. It has talked about a criminal. He was not tell the truth after being arrested, so the police used the association test for search the result. The method is to say one word and make him immediately to say another word that comes from his mind. The test started with unrelated words such as earth instead of day, father instead of mother, black instead of white, and so on. Suddenly, the words candle was being mentioned, and the thief was answered with milk bottle. In this way, the thief case was finally detected through the test. It's because the rapid association of the subjects is often exposed the hidden source of the hurt. Here's the case 2. It has talked about a 21-year-old male. He was unmarried and he's a college student. The main symptom was genophobia. He was afraid to touch the female student, afraid to see their bodies. This is the cause. In the free association, patients revealed that they had picked up a woman's skirts when he was young, and he had been beaten up by his father. When he became an adult, he saw the skirts of a female classmate at a sports meeting, which reminded him of the incident in his youth. Then he felt guilty and was afraid to look at the girl's lower part, which later developed to the point that he was afraid to look at the lower part of all the girls, which was the cause of his phobia. Here's the medical analysis. From a psychoanalytic point of view, the unconscious context of the young man's phobia and his early sexual curiosity are the causes. This is something the patient is not aware of. In the course of long-term psychotherapy, he was educated on basic sex knowledge, which made him understand the normal sexual and psychological development process of people, relieved his sense of guilty, anxiety, and fear, and achieve satisfactory results.
Let's look at the third part, the purpose of free association. Okay, the first one is when the School of Psychoanalysis holds that venting has the effect of purifying the mind. An emotion, if not properly expressed, can pile up, leading to psychological or psychosomatic disorder. Once it releases, the symptoms will ease. The more thorough the venting is, the better the effect. The release of emotion is so important that psychoanalytic experts always try to stimulate the emotions of their patient. In other words, psychoanalysis is very sensational. Okay, the second is understanding. Mental disorder originates from the unconscious, so preaching doesn't work. The patient knew their symptoms were wrong, but they couldn't have it. On the contrary, if the patient knows the meaning of symptoms and has an understanding of the symptoms, the symptoms will relieve themselves. Psychoanalysis is a process of comprehension which eliminates symptoms by tapping into the unconscious and exploring it. The third is correct. Free association is also called correct emotional experience. Patients can release their emotions through free association and their symptoms will be alleviated accordingly. So the emotional response is very different than it used to be, and we can be brave enough to face it. Finally, I would like to add that free association is a kind of creative thinking. The thought process of going from one sense to another. Regular free association can enhance the imagination and lay the foundation for further creation or innovation. Thank you for watching, and thank you to every members of my team. Bye bye.